The first movement of the 10 form is also the simplest, although there's a lot of fine detail. Learning the basic choreography is fairly simple. We start with the feet together. This is a very standard position for the beginning of all routines. And we step out to the side and place the feet parallel, about shoulder distance apart, with the toes straight forward, the hips relaxed, the hands hanging loosely at the sides. Now the hands rise, palms down in front of the body until they are extending at about shoulder level. So here. Then the hands drop and the elbows bend as the hips bend and the knees bend and the body lowers. So here. And we get to a position where the legs are bent and the hands are palm down as if you're pushing a piece of wood underwater. So the whole movement from the beginning, from the very beginning of the form, is stepping out with the feet parallel. The hands rise to shoulder level. Then the hands lower as the body lowers, till the hands end up in front of the hips, with the shoulders relaxed and the legs bent. Once again, step out, feet parallel, about shoulder distance apart. Hands rise to shoulder level, then the hands lower as the body lowers. That's it for the basic choreography. So there are some important key points to remember when you're practicing this movement. First of all, is that as you step out to the side, don't simply lean the body to one side and extend the left leg and fall into this position. You want to be balanced and well connected throughout the entire form. So when you begin, you start by bending the hips, turning the pelvis a little bit to the right, and allowing the right hip to move backwards. As the right hip moves backwards, this allows the right thigh to remain in line with the right foot, rather than bending and sticking the hip out to one side or the other. So when you bend your legs, you drop the right hip back, this turns the pelvis, this allows you to keep your balance very centered in your right foot. The weight is in the middle of the foot can be relaxed and gently grip the ground, and you raise your left knee forward, rather than lifting the whole leg to one side, which would require tilting the pelvis. Instead, you just raise the left knee up to the front, as if you're going to take a step to the front, as if you're going to walk forward. So you turn the pelvis, drop the right hip backwards, let the left knee float up in front of you a little bit, and then go to the side. So you balance the movement of the left leg by turning the waist and the hips, not by tilting the upper body to the side. So once again, as you step out, you bend the hips, turn the pelvis, you can even twist the waist a little in this direction, raise the left knee out in front of you, and slowly step out to the side. Place the foot parallel to the other, and have the feet about hip distance or shoulder distance apart. When you step out, you want to have the legs straight but not hyperextended. So you don't want to step out into a low posture already. You want to step out and have the legs fairly extended, but do not hyperextend the knees. Don't block them. Okay? You want to be well balanced on well connected and loose and agile legs, not balanced on a couple of toothpicks. Okay? Let the joints do their work. So, bending the legs, turn the pelvis, raise the left knee in front of you, step out slowly, place the feet parallel, and then come to the center with the legs straight but not locked. From here, when you raise the hands float up in front of you, like so. They come up to shoulder level. And as they do, it's very important that you don't do what a lot of people do in the beginning. This is a common mistake, is to tilt the spine backwards as they raise the hands. Okay? So don't just balance the arms by tilting the spine backwards. Instead, try to keep the lower back open and the center of gravity back here, rather than arching the back like so. Okay? You want to keep the lower back open. And you'll need a teacher or some sort of straight edge to check to make sure that your spine is straight, just so that you know what that feels like. This is where the teacher comes in handy, because usually people cannot feel this for themselves in the beginning. So when you raise the hands rise, but the lower back remains open and the spine remains upright. So the hands rise, but the spine does not lean back. As the hands lower, the body remains upright as the hands drop to about hip level. So, feet together, bend the hips and turn the pelvis in the direction of the weighted leg, and shift your weight so that you're nice and balanced as you slowly raise the other leg and step out to the side, feet parallel, about shoulder distance apart. So, from the beginning, feet together, bend the hips, let the right hip drop backwards, and balancing very steadily on your right foot, let the left knee rise, and slowly this foot steps out to the side, about shoulder distance apart. Then come to the center with the legs straight, but not hyperextended. Next, allow the hands to rise to shoulder level without tilting the spine backwards. Keep the body upright. Then the hands lower as the body lowers. Dropping the hands to hip level. Okay. And again, as you lower the hands, don't lean forward. It's just as it's very common for people to lean backward as they raise the hands, it's also common for people to lean forward as they lower them. So try to keep your body upright and do the bending with the hips and the knees and the ankles rather than with the upper body. So the hands rise as high as the shoulders, but nice and relaxed. The elbows drop toward the knees as the hands lower and the body lowers, keeping the body upright, not leaning back and not leaning forward, like so. Okay. This is where you'll want a teacher to be able to come and adjust and check to make sure that your body is upright, that your hips are relaxed, that your waist is relaxed, and that you're not putting undue stress on your knees or your ankles. A lot of people will go down, and they'll go down and drive their knees forward past their toes so that there's too much weight on the balls of their feet. You want to make sure that the hips are relaxed and the knees feel as though almost like they're being lifted up. This allows the weight to get centered onto the thighs. So the quadriceps, particularly, you'll feel it in the vastus medialis, which is the muscle on the inside of the quadriceps. And this muscle and these muscles should take the work. If you're feeling the stress in your knees, that means that you're putting all the stress on your joints and on your tendons rather than putting it on the muscles where it should go. So from here, the body is upright, the hips are relaxed, the knees are relaxed, the feet are relaxed, and the weight is nicely balanced. And if you hold this for any length of time, you should be able to fry eggs on your thighs. Yep, that'll do it. So, feet together, drop the right hip back, let the left knee come up in front of you, turn and balance by turning as you slowly step out with your feet parallel, then come to the center with the legs straight but not hyperextended. Allow the hands to rise to shoulder level, and then let the hands lower and the body lowers. Keeping the body upright and relaxed and well aligned so that the weight is in the thighs and not in the hips, the knees, the small of the back, or the feet. Okay? One more thing. When you raise your hands, like so, okay, it's important to have a feeling of extension through the arms. This is so that you're not simply raising your hands up with tension in your shoulders. It's incorrect to tighten up the shoulders and lift the arms at the shoulder. Instead, a nice little, handy little trick is to think of sinking the shoulders down, dropping the elbows down, and sinking the wrists down so that they feel as though they're going into the ground. So rather than lifting the hands up as if you're lifting a weight, instead, imagine that you're extending your arms down along the ground, underneath the floor, and then up the wall on the other side, keeping the shoulders sinking and the elbows dropping, so that rather than doing this, instead the hands are just going out there like that on their own. With practice, you'll get so good at this that you'll feel as though your arms are floating up all by themselves, that there is nothing except your imagination and your will moving the hands, and that it'll feel as though there's no muscle at all. They'll just seem to float. And then as the hands lower, the body lowers. And let the weight settle into your thighs. Good. And this position determines the height at which ideally you should remain for the rest of the form, with a couple of exceptions. So all of the rest of the movements that we do should be done with the legs bent at about this level. Whether you're in a bow stance, or a back stance, or, well, basically you're going to be in bow stances for the rest of the 10 form. There are a few exceptions. You can come up a little bit by straightening the supporting leg when you're doing the kicks, or when you're doing rooster stands on one leg. But for the rest of it, you want to try to stay at the same level. Thank you.